Menos is one of Plato's most provocative and fascinating dialogues. It begins in a way familiar from many other short Platonic works. Menos, young man from Innopolis, asks Socrates how virtue is acquired. Socrates insists that the more basic what it is question about the virtue must be addressed first. Menos gives various examples requiring Socrates to clarify by means of the examples of shape and colors that they want a definition of what all type of virtue have in common rather than a list. Menos eventually offers a definition of virtue and Socrates interrogates it, removing half of it and driving the other half into a circularity.
Socrates is willing to proffer some of his own opinions. Indeed, the dialogue turns to this very question of how to proceed towards knowledge. When Socrates attempts to continue, Menos detracts him with a dilemma. How can they search for something they have no knowledge of? Either it's known and no search is required, or it's not known and no search is possible.
Socrates presents a myth that souls are immortal and have acquired all knowledge, and further, that this knowledge can be recollected by the individual human being. He then demonstrates this by helping a freshman to work out how to double the real square. The freshman arrives at the same point of puzzlement as Menos, but Socrates points out the diagonal and the problem is solved. Socrates takes the demonstration to be evidence that this knowledge was recollected and not taught, and that soul is immortal, since the freshman wasn't taught geometry in his life.
The dialogue now changed direction a second time. When Socrates again moves to continue the investigation, Menos say they would rather hear what Socrates has to say about the original question: how is virtue acquired? Menos readily agrees that if introduction to virtue is knowledge, it is teachable, but whether virtue is knowledge proves difficult to answer. On the other hand, the proper use of any good appears to require the guidance of knowledge, but on the other, if virtue were knowledge, there should be teachers and pupils of virtue, but we do not see any of these.
On the basis of the latter argument, Socrates introduces a distinction between knowledge and true belief, stating that true belief is as good as knowledge when it comes to any individual action, but that knowledge remains fixed, while true belief is apt to wander around, like one of the Daedalus moving status. Recollection, in the end, is said to be a mechanism for making true beliefs into knowledge, though good men of the past and present rely on true belief, acquired by some kind of inspiration.
Based on this reasoning then, my students, it seems to us that the virtue is present to those who have it by a share of the divine. We will have a clear knowledge of it when, before we ask in what way virtue comes to be in a man, We first try to discover what exactly virtue is in its own right. But now it's time for me to go somewhere. As for you, persuade your guest friends here of the very things you have been convinced of, so they might become gentler. If you persuade them, you will also benefit the Innopolisans.